Good afternoon and welcome to West Coast Model Battleships. I'm your host, Dave. And today I wanted to do a little video about, as a shipbuilder, reference material. Where we can find it, what's good, what works. I know that the ship modeling community is probably the smallest group of all the builders compared to vehicles, cars, tanks, aircraft, and all that. But there is some good reference material out there we can all use. I'll use like a Google, but there is also some other resources you can work that are handy on hand, and I thought I'd share a few of them with you, what I do when I get into a good project and try to make them as real as possible. That's the way I try to build them. Adding those details in there, getting the things correct, because not all model kits are actually 100% correct, as we all find the flaws in them when we're building them. So I thought I would share with you some of the resources that I use when I go to build a ship to get it as true as possible. So I'm going to spin this thing around and show you some of the things that I use to help me out, and hopefully it will help you out in the long run. So be right back. We'll flip this thing around. Okay, I wanted to share some of the things that I use. I have a pretty extensive library. Some of it's still packed away, but there's several nice books out that you can purchase online or at your hobby stores. This one is a complete list of all the U.S. battleships from BB-1 all the way to the perceived Montana class, which were never built, and they've all got some pretty classic pictures in there of them all through their history and their demise, of course. The Arizona there. This one's got every book, every battleship listed in there. It's actually a pretty good book. It's got some good details in it. That one's pretty good reference. And then if you're looking to build a specific ship, there's also these. They're made by, I believe this is Squadron Signals. So this one is a complete history of the Yamato class, which is the Yamato and the Musashi, and it goes through their history, their building process. And there's a lot of great detail up close pictures in here, even coloring, to build these things as cool as you like. And it has also a lot of technical stuff and some history of their operations. But for close-up views of superstructure and stuff like that, trying to mimic them on a model. If it's missing something, you can re-reference these. And a lot of these pictures can be found online, which is kind of cool. Here's one on the great state of California. As we know, she was sunk at Pearl Harbor and then extensively rebuilt into almost a completely new ship towards the end of her career after being rebuilt. There's a pretty good picture of her afterwards. Turned out to be a handsome fighting vessel. I mean, they were obsolete by the time Pearl Harbor broke out, but the Navy kept them and improved them. My current build, this one is about the North Carolina class of battleship. Talks about Washington and North Carolina and the subtle differences actually between the two as you go along in their work history. And always in the middle there's some nice stuff. Great close-ups of the superstructures on all these. The one thing the Navy did, there's North Carolina, and her measure 22, was the Navy documented things really, really well. I use this one for my Fletcher build. Shows a lot of the detail and the differences between the Fletchers as the war went on, from a round bridge to a square bridge to adding more AA and anti-submarine warfare. So that one's a good one too. I don't know if these are still in production, but there's two books that I use quite a bit. This is called U.S. Battleships in Action Part 1, and this is all of the pre-battleships up until 41 that has every one of them in there. And of course, the center page shows them before and after some of their rebuilds and their modifications that were done during the war. And there's actually some good coloring on the dazzle patterns and the camouflage patterns that these were done in. Book 2 covers everything from the North Carolina to the South Dakota class to the Iowas, and there's even some stuff in there for the Montanas that were never built. The subtle differences between all of them is documented real well. I also, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Mike Ashley. He has a web page that you can order a pretty extensive little folder. I know he's got two out now, one for the Alaska, one for the North Carolina, and he's doing one on a Missouri, which he hasn't published yet, but it's a complete building reference guide to making corrections on the ship and adding the details that you would want. I think this was like $10 or something like that, and he sends it to you in the mail, full color, and he talks about how to build these parts too. Mike Ashley is a pretty phenomenal builder. He's done a lot of books. He's got several books. If you look, I believe it's MikeAshleyPublications.com. He's got several books out, advanced and beginning modeling, and shows lots of techniques, and he builds some beautiful ships. And also I have a list of the Navy camouflage patterns that I referenced there. Each one is called a measure, and it starts from 1 to the end. 33, 31, 31A, 32, 33. They were all used during the war to help camouflage the ship, confuse them on their silhouettes, their speeds, and mess up the rangefinders. And then they have actually the actual colors that the ships were in. You can save this off the internet. So that's some of the reference material I use. It's all good material. Plus, there's always Google. Can't go wrong with that. Pictures, you can save those pictures and all that stuff. So we'll go back up top here and finish this one up. Okay, I'm back. So I hope you enjoyed that. It's just a little what I use is mainly I'm a shipbuilder, one of those rare breeds, yes. Kind of like Brian and a few others out there that are just shipbuilders. There's a lot of reference material out there for you to use to get into it. I know they take forever to build. I mean, I'm still working on the North Carolina. I think I'm going on 4 or 6 months plus, jobs and everything else get in there. Don't whip them out as fast as Charlie Mack that whips out a model, but I hope that helps. If you have any comments or questions about where to find some of this stuff, please hit me up in the comments section. I'm more than willing to share that wealth, especially when it comes to ships. I've done quite a bit of studying on them over the years. Reference material, like I say, I have boxes of stuff saved down in a unit that I can reference to. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it gives you some way to lean to research your projects. I would recommend it on any project to sell, to get that what you want. Armor, planes, even cars. I mean, they all have their little things. Like Charlie Mack did one I saw about on a motor. He was trying to make that motor as real as possible, so he did a lot of research on it. There's tools out there for you. I just showed you a couple of them, and I hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you next time.